What's up, boy? Domuto. We back with another video watching Beyond Dragon Ball Super, the end of Demon God Raijin, the Omni Grand Priest versus Raijin finale. Okay, by the UnrealEntGaming 50-minute long video, obviously. But I'm ready to get into it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm ready to get into the next story, because this story's been cool. It's been alright. But yeah, I'm just ready to get into the next story. So we're going to check this finale out and Lego.
The final chapter within the story of the Dark Masters now officially continues following the initial battle involving both Berserker Raijin having to take on the Omni Grand Minister within the Demon Realm, as with the others having to quickly strategize and regrouping by understanding the grave nature that Raijin does pose, with Vegeta having to take initiative by attacking and strategizing for a plan to further destroy Raijin, was when all of our heroes collectively had gathered together in formulating this plan, with Vegeta quickly having to then continue. Now listen, everything that we have been fighting to protect is all going to come down to these final moments in this war against that demon up there, and as I will go and do what I can and giving it all that I have by using the soul shackling paralysis technique in hopes of having it go and work by slowing that monster down during his battle with the Grand Minister. But just in case if that doesn't work, then don't try to go and paint a target on your backs by attempting to go and use anything less than your full power against him, even if it only manages to draw his attention for just a moment, because every second is going to count as we are going to need it, with Kibi then having to quickly chime in. Then we will go and do what we can, but whatever happens, no matter how dire things may look out there while we go and attempt to try and stop that monster from having this war end within his favor, we cannot under any circumstance allow for Raijin to go and evolve himself even further than where he currently stands right now, Kibi continues. And so while you go and try to distract him from below, the rest of us will go and try to get up close and personal with him in the meantime, with Vegeta responding, well, the two of you ought to go and try to make this quick then, because I can only go and continue to do this for as long as my body lets me. And then so if the two of you plan on going and taking action here against him, then you better go and hurry and do it right now, with Kibi responding. Then while Vegeta will be going and using his abilities to go and attack Raijin from below, Kibi says, let's go and hurry and so that we can go and try to draw Raijin's attention away from the Grand Minister in order for us to go and try to create a distraction for the Grand Minister to go and perhaps capitalize on, to which as Goku and Kibi were then shown having to make their move, was when Goku then went on to quickly respond, right then, and so let's hurry and go and attack him now while Vegeta goes and concentrates on his technique here from below, Goku says. To which in those very moments now, as Raijin was shown having to headbutt the Omni Grand Priest away and not having to be fully aware that both Goku, Kibi, and Vegeta's attack were now starting to rapidly make their way ever so closer towards him, was when Raijin went on to address the Grand Priest by responding, you thought wrong if you had assumed that I was going to allow for you to go and beat me as easily as you had claimed that you were going to go and do here, Angel. What is this cursed attack of yours that you have blindsided me by using, Priest? No, this doesn't appear to be coming from you, as this here appears to be coming from the others. To which as Goku and Kibi were making their way ever so closer to Raijin, was when Kibi then went on to quickly shout, look, he's trapped him, but we only have mere seconds, and so let's go and attack him now by using everything that we have. Hurry it up, because I cannot go and hold him together like this for much longer, and so you will need to go and just try to go and give it all that you have and blindside him right now. But it was only within these very moments now, with Berserker Raijin then being shown having to free himself by elbowing both Kibi and Goku in the stomach, was when Raijin then went on to respond, oh no, you little worms, don't. So just because I had left you all alone for the time being while having to go and focus on far more important matters at the moment, doesn't mean that I will go and continue to allow for your actions to be carried out here against me either, Raijin says. Because the very second that I am through in having to finally destroy your angelic savior first and foremost, Raijin continues, will the rest of you only follow in his eradication shortly after, in doing what I had nearly accomplished prior to his arrival just moments before he had went and came here to save you mortals. Well, if that is what your intended goal here between us is going to be, then you aren't doing a good enough job by keeping your word to anyone here when you clearly aren't winning here against me, demon. Oh, this is just insane, as even the power of his very own realm doesn't seem to be effective enough to permanently slow that bastard down. But while my energy is nearly depleted from the strain that I continue to go and place on myself, Vegeta continues, I must go and continue to keep on trying because there is bound to be some moment in between this battle where I could just go right ahead and blast him when he least expects for it to happen. To which, as the Omni Grand Priest was shown having to fight Raijin off, was when the Grand Priest then went on to respond, "Your resilience is surprisingly commendable for a warrior of your corrupted and abominable stature, but understand that while you are the first living creature outside of Grand Zeno himself to actively engage and challenge my current level of power, make no mistake about the fact that I am still, even when having to attack you right now, within this very moment, far stronger than you could ever even dream of wanting to be, Defiler. Why, I'll find a way to bypass you if it's the last thing that I do, and make no mistake about the fact that I most definitely will, you miserable little insects, as you won't go and kill me that easily, and you know it, Angel. So do you still believe that you have what it takes to go and outlast me during this battle of ours, Demon? Because your fighting patterns are starting to become both sloppy and extremely noticeable, which I'm already more than certain couldn't have come from Murno's accessed memories, being that I would know better since I was the one who had originally trained him, and so now which one is it? But then, it was only from out of nowhere now back down below, as full-powered Brohan and Orange Piccolo were shown in having to do what they could in order to go and draw Raijin's attention away from the Grand Minister, so that way the Grand Priest can actually destroy Raijin by detecting the anomaly, was when Orange Piccolo and Brohan had continued their rapid fire against Raijin by then responding, "We've got to go and keep firing at that monster no matter how much of our power it's going to take, and unless we can go and penetrate his focus and giving the Grand Minister the small pocket of time that he would need to locate and destroy that corrupted infestation that is festering from within that beast, then we've got no other choice than to go and continue our pursuit in attempting to defeat this demon before he is given a chance to go and do anything that will change that." But then, it was only just within these very moments now, with Raijin being shown having to exert even more of his ferocious power onto the surface with everyone else having to oversee this, was when Beerus went on to then quickly chime in, "Incredible, what an unbelievable display of power, and unless this freak plans to try and blow himself up now, then I want for him to just simply know that I'm not going down here without a fight." Now wait just a moment, for it would be wise for you to go and remain below with Vegeta, since he appears to be losing a tremendous amount of power by siphoning off the Demon Realm's energy in attempts to go and use it against Raijin. But I also want for you to go and look closely, Lord Beerus. Are you able to go and see it too, Whis questions? For it would seem as though the demon is beginning to rapidly destabilize from within, while simultaneously attempting to balance both residing natures, which includes his very own, a demon's, and Murno's, a former angel. And so because of this, it is almost like a game of tug of war that Raijin is trying to wage in order to go and balance himself out up there. And while I'm already sure that the Grand Minister is currently attempting to pinpoint the precise location within the demon's body and figuring out on where exactly Raijin happens to be concealing the source of his powers from Whis Hads, I will need for both yourself along with a few of the others to remain down here alongside with me while we go and continue to aid Vegeta and the others, so that way the Grand Minister can go and finish this battle in one piece. You miserable mortals have stood in my way for as long as I can continue to go and tolerate, and so now away with you all once and for all. But then, it was only just upon with the Grand Priest being shown having to completely redirect Raijin's attack right back at him, was when the Grand Priest then went on to quickly respond, "Your battle here is with me and me alone, no matter how badly you wish to go and try to cast the others down in spite of facing your end here,
big dog.
Then just
Priest.
who do you think you're talking to like that, you lapdog? For you don't scare me with your empty and worthless little threats." But it was only just then within this very moment, immediately following Raijin being shown having to deflect his own attack as the Grand Priest went on to then make his move, was when the Grand Priest then went on to quickly respond, "Well, is it really as empty of a threat if you're the one who is losing here between us, Demon? Or am I simply getting lucky out here against you with my power being an illusion when comparing it directly to yours? And so now which one is it? And unless of course you go and wish to willingly instead surrender yourself on over, then I think referring to my message of justice and having it just be empty threats couldn't be any further from the truth, now is it? I'd rather die than to ever willingly submit myself to your authority, Grand Minister." But it was only just then within
mad,
these very
ain't he?
moments now with the Omni Grand Priest being shown having to unleash a gigantic attack of his own to counter Raijin's was when the Omni Grand Priest went on to then quickly respond. Try as you might, but this struggle that you continue to go and wage in hopes of finally having to go and get rid of me in order for you to go and proceed with your plans in relocating the Omniverse will fail. And that is simply because without Murno's power, you would have perished here far sooner than you ever could have hoped for, Demon, with Raijin responding, then watch me as I go and use your fallen angel's powers to shred both you and your allies with one single blow. But even despite with all of this, as Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku still had attempted in trying to do what he could to distract Raijin in order for the Grand Priest to destroy him was when Goku then went on to quickly respond. Now, even though I highly doubt that my single attack here is going to have any major effect on you, I'll still need to go and hurry and try so that we could go and keep your attention long enough in order for the Grand Minister to destroy you. To which, as Goku was then shown quickly having to fire his Kamehameha, was when Raijin went on to turn on over by responding, "Bro, and what now? Oh, it's you again, you pathetic Saiyan. When will any of you come to learn the truth that no matter how many times you and those other weaklings try and challenge my power," Raijin says upon redirecting Goku's attack right back at him, "it'll ultimately come to backfire on you all, and so now stand aside and get out of my way, son Goku."
Raijin,
But
not
fortunately
like
enough
that.
for Goku, as full-powered Brohan had gone as far as to see this by quickly being shown intervening and pushing Goku out of the way before his own attack had gone as far as to make contact, was when Brohan then went on to quickly shout, "Oh, Goku, what are you doing? Get out of the way of that, for you don't have enough energy to go and try to challenge that, and so be careful," with Raijin then having to address the Grand Priest by responding, "You can go and continue to deny my destiny as much as you'd like, but understand that I won't be going quietly into the abyss because it'll be you who will be going there first, Angel. And once I finally go and evolve into reaching my ultimate level of power, if I don't already decide to go and blow myself up before that, then the destruction of the divine will start with you as I move on to those Omni Rats shortly after, and then for me to go and find and devour the rest of the Omniverse right along with it," with the Omni Grand Priest responding,
Damn.
"Over my dead body, you will, defiler, but while I must admit that you are actually far more powerful than Murno could have ever have hoped to become before his destruction, you are beginning to play an extremely dangerous game here with me if you honestly believe that I would be going all out and using all of my power this early on into our battle, when that contingent alone couldn't be further from the truth, and so now watch closely if you don't believe me, Demon." To which, of course, the Grand Priest actually did in fact mean business, because as the Grand Priest had gone as far as to push his own attack directly down into Raijin's and having both attacks now directly be shown having to collide into him, was when Goku then went on to address Brohan by responding, "Brohan, listen to me. I have an idea, but we'll need to go and grab that other demon Zaru while the others coordinate their strategy on the other side, and since we don't have any other choice here, we'll need to go and move in quickly if we hope for this to work, okay?" With Vegeta having to then also chime in, "This is just insane. Damn it, hold your ground and don't give way to the force of that explosion here, because we are still not done with him here, Demon," with the Grand Priest then having to acknowledge the events below by then saying to himself, "He's starting to crack under the pressure, which I knew was bound to already go and happen, but the anomaly still festers somewhere deep inside of him, and so time is of the essence, and while I am more than certain to go and locate and destroy this festering anomaly before he is either to go and combust it into an explosion or use it to undergo some kind of a transformation, one thing that I do know is that it must be destroyed, as I can go and ensure that it will be in just a matter of time." To which, as Berserker Raijin was trying to keep himself together, it was only just as Raijin was beginning to slowly lose his mind upon having to try to keep himself together was when Raijin then went on to quickly respond, "I can't allow for myself to go and give in, because the mission isn't over, and it won't be over until I have made sure to go and bury that angelic nuisance with my own two hands, but my focus continues to shift as my power continues to boil, but I can't let my power go and boil over, as there is still much for me to go and do that requires for my next transformation to become a success." as I will still need about 5 more minutes before I could go and reach down into acquiring my next great evolution, and so I can't go and allow for myself to undergo
like
this
diarrhea
process prematurely, and otherwise it'll result in some kind of an adverse mutation. With the Grand Priest then responding, now I just knew that you were going to go and fall apart on yourself sooner or later here against me, but I didn't think that it was actually going to happen this soon, the Grand Priest says, or now did I? Hard to tell, Defiler, because you don't seem to be looking too good down there, as I can only begin to imagine now as to why that is, to which as Raijin was then shown dashing upwards towards the Grand Priest was when Raijin then went on to quickly respond, well, wonder not for much longer, Priest, because not only will I grind you into the mud below where you rightfully belong, but it'll be done by using a power that will be just as equally powerful as the one in which you are currently wielding here against me right now, Priest. And so now hold still and quit running away, with the Grand Priest responding, such strong words from a voice that is projecting a future by using a power that isn't even fully theirs is quite ironic here, don't you think, Demon, the Grand Priest says? Because even with Murno's former glory, along with his techniques and his memories coursing through that very body and having you combine them alongside your very own, you could never hope to go and overthrow a power that simply refuses to be conquered, Demon, with Raijin quickly responding, don't you dare grow to become so arrogant here and thinking that you have beaten me just yet, Grand Minister. Because if you truly do intend on having to go and take me down once and for all, Raijin continues upon unleashing a mouth blast of his own, then I'm not going down without having to go and take a giant piece of you down into the fire along with me, with the Grand Priest then responding, well, it looks like I may have struck a nerve with that one, but while your amalgamated level of power has placed you within a league that is central to your very cause, the Grand Priest says, as you enact these efforts of yours to go and try to rid me from this equation of yours so that you may go and succeed in your mission without any setbacks, you will ultimately come to find out that my level of power, on the other hand, places me within a league that you could only ever dream of reaching, Defiler, as my demonstration of strength here against you should be all but evident enough if you haven't already noticed by now, wretched accuser, with Raijin responding, oh, you're good, far better than I ever could have imagined for you to ever be, but I just knew that going and taking you down wasn't going to be as easy as one would have imagined for it to go and be, Raijin says, but none of that matters anymore now, does it? Yes, I assumed so, because pretty soon, no matter how badly you want to go and claim to simply want to gauge your potential against my own, along with having to go and make me try to answer for my many so-called crimes against the cosmos, Raijin continues, it'll be you who will fall while I will be the last one standing here to remain here between us, Grand Minister, as you and I both know for this to go and be true, and so don't even go and try to deny it, Raijin adds, because none of it will matter by the time that this is all finally over here between us. And so while I can now fully come to finally understand that waiting to evolve in order for me to go and finally destroy you isn't going to come quick enough, since I'm growing very angry at just simply having to look at you, let alone in having to go and hereby even have to go and deal with you, and so instead, Raijin then went on to raise his arm by continuing, and instead of running the risk of having you go and ruin my plans like how you once did before, I am simply going to go and pour everything that I am made of into my next attack, as this will not only go as far as to ensure everyone's destruction, including by wiping out this entire realm alongside the rest of you, but even if you somehow were to go and manage to survive this, then you will never go and be the same after it makes contact if it's the last thing that but then, it was only surprisingly enough now from out of nowhere behind Raijin, as the Demon Kibi went on to grab his arm and preventing Raijin from destroying the Demon Realm, was when Kibi went on to then quickly respond, no, you will not, as I cannot go and allow for you to proceed to destroy us all, especially not after having those who have once served you ultimately come to realize that everything that you went and promised us was all built upon a baseless lie from the very beginning, Raijin, with Raijin then being shown having to quickly elbow Kibi in the stomach by then responding, as if any of your lives would matter more to me than my very own purpose in this world is simply delusional for either one of you to go and believe, for you have all went and had turned your backs on the very same abyss that had once given you all purpose, Raijin continues, for you have went and had traded your eternity within my shadows for a fleeting illusion of acceptance from these creatures, and because you were the root cause in having to go and turn my very own army here against me, Raijin says, your death will be KB in what will set the example by showing all those who will ever go and try to dare to stand up to me again like how you and the others had tried doing, in having this here be what will await for them if they go as far as to even try. Raijin continues upon being shown having to punch right through Kibi. Then so now let this hereby now set the example moving forward, you traitorous little vermin. Then so now hear my words when I say do not ever go and mistaken my patience here for mercy either, Kibi, because no matter how many times you would have went and tried and no matter how hard you would have fought to ensure my destruction during this battle, the end result of your failures would have all ended the same regardless of who it was you would have ended up in having to side with, Kibi. But then it was only through his sheer resiliency alone as Kibi went on to go as far as to paralyze Raijin momentarily by executing one of his final moves against him was when Kibi went on to then quickly respond. And that is where you are wrong, because take my life if you will, but understand that your life will soon be taken away from you as well, as you will completely come to fail in your mission just like it was when you had failed once before. Oh, away with you, you traitorous backstabbing little vermin, you and your annoying little magic tricks, Raijin says, for they will go and get you nowhere here against me no matter how many times you go and attempt to try and paralyze me. But then it was yet again now from out of nowhere with Raijin being shown having to be struck in by another energy attack and being frozen within his place momentarily was when Raijin then went on to quickly respond. Curse those of you who dare to go and use the power of my own realm here against me. Oh, it's that Saiyan again. Why you? But how is he still not dead yet down there? And just where is that worm getting all of this extra power from? Wait, no, now I see it. Now I see their pesky little strategy. For I should have known. Raijin then went on to spot Orange, Piccolo, and Beerus having to assist Vegeta in continuously using these attacks against him. The others are helping fuel Vegeta's attacks by empowering his siphoning technique, which explains on why he's been so persistent. And so now just you rodents wait until the moment that I am able to go and break free from this, because once I am freed, Raijin continues, I am going to wait. You again, Goku. Here we go, and so just remember what it is that I said and stick to the plan no matter what, Goku then went on to quickly shout. And so now let's go and show that monster on what the power behind our teamwork here against him is truly made of, and so now's our chance! To which it was only just then within these very moments now with the Elite Demon Zaru, Brohan, and Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku having to combine their ultimate attacks and attempting to try to blast Raijin here once and for all was when Goku went on to then further motivate the others during their struggle by responding, don't give that monster an inch no matter how badly he tries to overtake us, you guys, because it'll take everything that we have within our hearts and souls to finish this battle once and for all while we still can. To which it was only finally now back down below with the Grand Priest finally now being able to locate the anomaly within Raijin's body by formulating his arrow of destiny right before having to attack Raijin was when the Grand Priest went on to then quickly respond. And there it finally is, as I can now sense a clear enough pathway into determining where this imbalance of Raijin's is currently located within, as I cannot go and allow for whatever these sinister plans of yours were going to be carried out here under any circumstance, because while I vow to ensure that you are to feel every bit of the pain and suffering that you had brought onto so many others for you to go and experience firsthand as a sign of things to come, the Grand Priest says, through the power of my heavenly arrow of destiny, let the darkness that you have casted down be forever overpowered by the light, the Grand Minister shouts, and for all of the destruction that you have caused across the multiverse through your wicked actions, including by those whom were given their orders by you directly in order for them to go and act upon, the Grand Priest says, your parasitic reign of terror across the cosmos ends here with me. To which it was only within this very moment now as a massive explosion was then having to be shown across the cosmos of the Demon Realm with everyone having to oversee this was when Whis went on to then quickly respond, that was a very close call just now, but do try and relax yourself in the meantime here, Goku, for this brief moment here between us was exactly what we had been hoping would come to us, Whis adds, and so well done on your collective efforts in doing what you needed in order to go and disorder orient him out there, with Goku then quickly responding, "Hey, wait a minute, look! His power is starting to drop at an extremely rapid level out here, and so does that mean that the plan had worked?" With Whis responding, "Now while the situation still remains very unclear since Raijin is currently still alive, I will however confidently say with absolute certainty on the other hand, that this ancient war that Raijin had originally started a very long time ago will no longer be given its legs in allowing for it to continue to stand in direct opposition to any of us any longer, as I do now believe that what we are about to witness take place down there will be nothing short of spectacular as we await for it to go and happen, Goku." To which it was only within these very moments now back down below, with Raijin being shown struggling to even make it back up by standing on his 2 feet and having to acknowledge a decrease in his power, was when Raijin then went on to quickly respond, "And just what kind of wicked sorcery is this? What have you done to my body just now that it's causing me this much pain? No, the amalgamated seed of my next great evolution is no longer present within my body, which means that it's gone," Raijin says, "but I was so close. I had it. I was right there and nearly having my plan be completed, and you ruined it all once again. Or at least you had tried to, because no matter how badly you may claim to leverage yourself here over me during this battle, I won't have you go and do away with me as you once. What did you do? You low-down, conniving little coward." "Hey, what's going on down there with him, Demon?" Brohan went on to address Zaru by asking, "Is this another one of his dirty tricks that he's plotting down there in secret, or could this actually be a sign that something is bound to change within our favor, now that his power appears to be rapidly decreasing?" With the elite demon Zaru then having to acknowledge this by responding, "Well, I'm not quite sure, but from what it appears to look like, it would seem as though he's starting to slowly change down there, but I wouldn't want to go and rule Raijin down and out so prematurely just yet here either, because those of us who know him are already well aware that he isn't one to just go and back down without putting up a fight here first. But while I can't go and say for certain on what is about to go and transpire down there with him," Zaru continues, "if I had to go and say for sure, however, then I would like to go and believe that this will be as far as Raijin will be able to go, as it doesn't look as though he will be able to have the strength to continue this battle, which could only go as far as to mean one thing now that we are able to go and see it." With Beerus then having to acknowledge this overall situation by responding, "He's vomiting some kind of strange plasma out of his body, but just what exactly does this mean if he is still somehow alive after having to go and sustain all of that just now?" With base Vegeta being shown having to breathe heavily by responding, "Well, I don't know, but look, his power, it appears to be decreasing at an alarming level, and with his body now beginning to change yet again, that must mean that it worked." To which it was only just as with the Omni Grand Priest now being shown having to acknowledge and respond to Raijin was when the Grand Priest then went on to quickly add, "And there it is, the rupture and fracture point that I had been waiting for, as I just knew that from the very moment you had went and merged your power with Murno's fallen essence, that your union was going to be unsustainable and crack under the weight of the enormous pressure that it would go and add onto both your soul and your body, and now that I have finally ripped that very foundation away from you, you are hereby now finished, Raijin, and now that your connection and combining your power along with your nature with Murno's former glory is now over, you are hereby now reduced in being nothing more than a broken figure and the hollow failure of who you thought you once were, Demon. A deluded tyrant who believed himself in being a king above gods, only to now watch you squirm around on the ground like the worm that you have always been, Raijin. And yet, what terrifies you more than defeat is that I was never going to end your life as quickly as you assumed that I would, for I was never going to go and grant you the honor of a swift and painless death until I had went and made you pay for each and every single crime against the gods that you have committed, as you were never meant to go and rule over this reality, let alone in having to dare be trusted to ever have another chance to go and try to take it from us like how you tried ever again. And since you have failed to succeed in completing your ultimate mission here against us," the Omni Grand Priest continues, "the time of your final and ultimate destruction has at long last finally arrived, Defiler." To which, as a weakened and very agitated Raijin went on to overhear this, was when Raijin then went on to quickly respond, "No, no, 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 no.
Yes,
but
yes.
How how can I have allowed to go and let this happen for a second time when I had them all exactly where I needed for them all to be? For this wasn't supposed to be on how things were supposed to end down here. Oh, is it because if I had known that this disaster would be coming to me in advance, then this total collapse of my ultimate plan would have already been long avoided before it could have been acted upon. And so how was I not wise enough to know that this would be a possibility when everything had been going exactly as I intended for it to go since the very beginning? And as I am no match for either of these creatures in my current state, and because I am unable to go and contend against either of these wretched vermin here, this only now begins to reinforce the idea that I must go and try to find a way to escape before it's too late, a weakened Raijin says. And to think that I, the great and mighty dark god of the demon realm, could go and be made into such a fool so effortlessly by the hands of such creatures just makes me utterly sick to my stomach to even go and think about. But I mustn't go and let this be my end, for I must hurry and go and find a way to make my escape before they are to go and take any further action here against me, because I won't go and be given another chance to go and do so if I don't attempt to take this moment to try and escape right now while I still can. But with the prime of my power having to now be ripped away from me while having to leave me unable to contend against this angel the way I am, he will undoubtedly go and surely stop me before I could go and try anything against him, which is why I will have to go and hurry and think of something fast here, as I fear that he will follow through in having to destroy what's left of me, unless I am to go and somehow blindside them all and taking this moment to succeed in my great escape here against them. With the Grand Priest then responding, now go and ponder on your failures as much as you would like, for you could never go and change the outcome of what is about to go and happen to you, as your judgment hereby now finally stands before you, whether you want to go and accept your fate for all that you have done in having you pay for your actions against the multiverse here or not, Defiler. Why you? Wait a minute, but can it really be? But of course, Raijin says, for there appears to be some kind of a portal that has just formed from out of nowhere above him, and so I have to go and take this moment to go and try to make my escape while I still have the energy to go and do it, Raijin adds. Yes, for this is my one and only chance to go and find a way to change things, Raijin shouts upon being shown heading towards that very portal, as wherever this may go and take me, may it go and be as far away from these creatures as it could possibly go and bring me, while I go and reassemble my new army and grand plan and having to go and take revenge at a later time. But the Grand Priest, however, was not having any of it, because before Raijin could even go as far as to enter through this portal, as several chains were then shown having to appear from below and wrapping themselves by binding Raijin, was when the Grand Priest went on to then quickly respond, maybe I didn't go and make myself clear enough to you the first time around, but perhaps you truly aren't one for hearing such words, Raijin, but would ultimately rather be addressed with action in its place, the Grand Priest adds. So while you may go and try to attempt to flee, and knowing that you are truly powerless to escape what is about to happen to you, it would be a grave mistake to go and allow for a creature as vile as yourself to be let loose in knowing what you are capable of in achieving, which is why I cannot go and allow you to leave so as long as we stand here before your very presence here, demon, with Raijin responding, no, 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 damn it, no, what is this chain that you have casted onto me which binds me, priest? And what do you mean by we when you are the only one who stands within my way, angel? With the Omni Grand Priest then responding, you should perhaps go and take another look at the very portal it was that you were trying to go and escape from, because it would rather appear as though I am not the only one here whom you will have to go and worry about, Raijin. To which it was only shockingly enough now to Raijin's horror, with both of the Omni Kings being shown exiting out of that very portal to go and confront Raijin, was when the present Omni King then went on to quickly respond, going somewhere? Hey, come to think of it, now I remember you. Yeah, as I never really liked you after overhearing something about the things that you had tried to go and pull against us before you were locked away. But since we are rather now finally face to face here against one another, we just wanted to go and let you know the future Omni King says that not only are you going to suffer painfully for your actions in wishing to go and do away with the two of us alongside the Grand Minister, but it's because you had attempted to go and tamper with the Omniverse as well, is where this will finally go and be, where you will go and hereby witness your final moments here between us, demon. As all of this had now looked as though it was seemingly about to come to an end for Raijin, because with the Omni Grand Priest now being shown having to execute his Omni Annihilation technique before having to address Raijin, was when the Grand Priest then went on to quickly respond, this tribalism of yours, along with the troublesome urge that you have to go and conquer every corner of reality by entering into the Omniverse, will never live to go and dream in having to see another day past this one ever again. And as for your actions against all life across this multiverse, including the very gods who watch over them, may you at long last finally be destroyed, never to return for as long as history demands for it ever again, demon. To which it was only just upon with Raijin now being shown having to be erased from below as the Omni King stood before Raijin, before having to be shown having to go and erase Raijin themselves, was when the future Omni King then went on to add, you know, you should have already went and known that this was bound to happen, but none of that matters anymore because we will never be seeing you after this point here ever again, with the present Omni King chiming in. That's right, and while you also went as far as to ruin our game of hide and seek with the Grand Minister before you had went and made it your mission to go and try to separate us the way you did, now it's time for us to go and do unto you exactly what it was that we had went and did to that fallen angel whom you tried merging your powers with, named Murno. And so now, bye-bye forever, evil demon, Omni Annihilation, with a terrified Raijin then having to quickly shout,
no, but how could this come to be? How could I have been so reckless to not see this as having to be a possibility?
Good riddance.
Damn you! Damn all of you into the pits of the abyss for what you have done! For you may have went and severed my existence, but my spirit will continue to go and live on within the shadows of your deepest, darkest nightmares, because sooner or later you will all be found, and once you are all found, will you only then all be destroyed forever?
As finally at long last this had now appeared to be it, because with Raijin now having to be successfully destroyed courtesy of the Omni Kings and the Grand Minister, was when the future Omni King then went on to respond, now what exactly was that demon babbling about just now, because his constant yelling was starting to really annoy me, and so good riddance with him for good this time, with the present Omni King responding, yeah, well, I don't really know on what he went on to babble about just now either, but now that our biggest problem has finally been taken care of, let's go and talk with the Grand Minister to see if he would like to go and resume our hide and seek game from earlier, future me. And so at long last, it is now done, the Grand Priest went on to acknowledge by staring up in the sky by responding, as our battle to save the multiverse has once again went and brought us ever so closer towards uniting us as one by standing in solidarity, all in the name of a common cause. And while I expect for this to be the last time that a scenario like this is to unfold in the ways in which it just was, the Grand Priest continues, I am glad to see that victory had stood alongside the good as we ensure to rebuild and move forward from such nightmares into bigger and brighter pastures. To which it was only just upon this very moment now back down below with Gohan and Broly now having to be shown separating from their previous fusion, was when Piccolo went on to acknowledge Gohan by responding, well, it's about damn time that this war against these monsters had finally come to an end, and so good riddance. But speaking of, the two of you did really well together out there, as I couldn't be any more proud in having to stand by your side, especially with you here, Gohan. And so how are you feeling? With Gohan responding, well, I can't really say that I feel great or anything because of how intense that battle against those demons were, but I sure am glad to see that this is all over with so that we can finally all go back home, Piccolo. To which, as Whis was then shown having to address Goku, was when Whis went on to then quickly respond, well done now, Goku, all of you, as I couldn't be any more proud to have seen this battle through with you all until the very end, with Goku being shown having to turn around by laughing and responding, thanks, Whis, but if it honestly wasn't for your aid against Raijin here, along with having you go and heal us when we needed it the most, Goku says, then I have no doubt that we all would have been goners by now, Goku says. And although I will say that fighting Raijin felt far more brutal than how it was when we faced off against that brother Murno of yours when we did, as the situation had seemed to have been hopeless hopeless for all of us before the Grand Minister had arrived and having to go and save us, but, well, truthfully, I don't even really know on how he went and managed to go and pull that off just now, but nevertheless, from what it was that I had seen happen here today, Goku says upon glancing over at Kibi, and for what it's worth, despite in having the two of us start off on the wrong foot while I was kept locked away within that chamber while down here upon having to first come here, Goku says, we truly wouldn't have been able to go and do what we just did in having to get through this entire mess without you, Kibi. To which it was only shortly after, with all of our heroes now being shown having to gather together and reassembling themselves just prior to being shown having to take their leave within the Demon Realm, was when Goku then went on to continue, boy am I glad that all of this is finally over and done with here, because I was starting to get a little nervous out there before the Grand Minister had arrived. But speaking of, actually, are we all headed back home now, Grand Minister? With the Grand Priest responding, well, if you would excuse me for just a moment, as I wish to go and speak with this demon here in regards to what had happened here today, the Grand Priest says, to which as Kibi was then shown having to address Zaru, was when Kibi then went on to respond, thank you for having my back out there and for coming to realize that I was telling you the truth behind what it was that I had learned out here, Zaru, but if you would only just go and give me a second, as I would like to go and say my goodbyes to the others before they leave, with Zaru responding, we'll go and draw the line and call it even here between us, and so now go and do what you have to while I go and check on the other demons, so that way we can go and start rebuilding down here in the meantime, Zaru says, to which it was only just within these moments as Zaru was then shown having to step away with Kibi being shown bowing to the Grand Priest, was when Kibi went on to then quickly respond, Venerable Grand Minister, for I can't go on to thank you enough for being there for us when all hope had appeared to have been lost during our greatest struggle, as I just wanted for you to know that we couldn't have made it without you here, sire, and so thank you, with the Grand Priest responding, you know, in all of my time, never have I ever went on to see the kind of display that was put forth by yourself along with the others, as for centuries the name demon had often been spoken of with dread across the multiverse, but yet here you stand before me, a demon who chose the path of righteousness during a time when it mattered the most, for that alone is both a testament to your strength of will and your heart, which is why I am also here to thank you in doing what you did in buying us the time that we needed to finally destroy that dreaded demon once and for all, and so because of your bravery and because of your actions that resulted in helping us bring down Raijin for good, the Grand Priest continues, since a governing figure is needed to help bring about balance within each of the 12 existing universes and the realms that flow between them, since Raijin is no longer in place of wielding the title as king, I hereby want to announce and crown you as the next great ruler and new king of the Demon Realm, Kibi, for I trust that you will go and do what it is within your means to go and maintain order and not destroy it, and so this, young warrior, is my gift to you for helping us bring down Raijin's impact and influence from across the multiverse, with the shocked Kibi responding, what? Wait, are you serious? Wait, so you're actually serious about this, aren't you? I am at a complete loss for words, sire, and so all I can ever truly say is thank you so very much for putting such faith in me and granting me of such a high-ranking title, as I can only assure you that I will not go on to let you down here, sire, for I really don't think that you understand on how important this is to me, Kibi continues by shaking the Grand Priest's hand, because for you to go and position me as the Demon Realm's next ruling leader is something that I am more than humbled by and having to express, as I swear to you on my life that I will not go on to let you down, Grand Minister, with the Grand Priest responding, well, you are very welcome, young demon, and so I will be back here to go and check in with how you are doing soon enough, but in the meantime, the Grand Priest continues, I hereby bid you a farewell until we go and meet again to discuss things very soon, Kibi, and so do make sure to go and take care of yourself in the meantime here as well. Oh no you don't, and just where exactly do you think you're marching off to like that, Kakarot Vegeta went on to question as the Grand Priest was then shown making his way back towards the others, as we have other matters to go and attend to that requires our attention, and so what exactly are you up to, with Goku responding, well, I know that, but it'll only be just a second, as I wanted to go and have a few words with Kibi there before we go and head back home, and so I promise that it'll be a real quick one, so just wait for me before you all go, okay? Well, that is, I mean, if it would be okay with you, Grand Minister, Goku says, as I wanted to go and simply take a second so that I can go and address this newly appointed Demon King for doing what he did here to help us, if of course that's okay with you, as I promise that it'll be quick, with the Grand Priest responding, very well then, but try not to go and take too long in the meantime, for there is much for us to go and do even when we get back, but you may go and proceed with your message as you would like, son Goku, to which as Goku was then shown having having to address Kibi directly was when Goku had now gone as far as to thank Kibi for all of his efforts by responding, "Man, you were awesome out there in battle with us, Kibi. You see, I told you that there was something about you that I just knew was different when compared to Raijin and those Dark Masters," Goku says. And so I'm glad that everything had went and turned out for the better here, as I can't go and thank you enough for everything you've done in helping us, Kibi, with Kibi responding, "Well, as grateful as I am to hear you say this, you and your universe are just as responsible for helping us bring down Raijin as anyone else," Kibi says. "And because of your noble actions that you have taken to ensure that our world survives along with your very own, you have saved our realm along with every living creature within it from absolute damnation, and it's because of your sacrifices that both you and your allies have made to ensure us with our lives. If it were not for your trust in me along with your resolve in seeing this war through with us until the very end, then I have no doubt that none of us would still be standing around here if it wasn't for your help here, Son Goku. And so thank you so much for choosing to do what you had done and waking me up to the reality behind what was truly going on here," Kibi continues, "along with your universe's service and making sure that we could all live to see another day after this one here today, Goku," with Goku then responding, "Well, it means a lot to us as we couldn't have been able to go and do this without your aid in playing your part against those monsters, but I'm glad that we can go about our lives now the way it was intended without the need for such bloodshed and destruction," Goku adds, "which I couldn't be any more proud in having you by our side throughout it all, Kibi. And so in the meantime, we'll go and be in touch," Goku continues, "and try not to go and make the same mistakes that both Raijin and those Dark Masters made along the way, okay? Because honestly, I really don't think that anyone wants to go through something like that again, and so thank you for everything, Kibi," with Kibi responding, "Well, of course not, but you have my word nonetheless in the meantime, and so come back and visit us anytime that both you and your friends would like, as we hope to go and see you all again very soon one day, Son Goku, for I appreciate in having you go and see the good within me when you did," with the Grand Priest responding, "And so now that our business is done here, we thank you for your service in doing what you could to not only protect all 12 mortal realms from destruction," the Grand Priest says, "but for also going as far as to do what you felt was right in standing up and challenging the original demon god Raijin in battle, despite in knowing that you were simply no match for him, as I entrust that you will go and be a great leader here, as we also hope to go and see great things come from you, and so we will see as time goes on," with Goku responding, "And we all actually second that, and so thanks for everything that you did that helped us along the way, as I'm sure that we will go and be seeing you around very soon, and for your sake," Goku says, "and I hope that you'll be ready, because me and Vegeta would love to go and have a one-on-one here against you, and so take care, Kibi," with Beerus then having to chime in, "Well, you can go and speak for yourself here, Saiyan, but while I do commend you for your efforts and also being shown and having to stand your ground here against such a monster," Beerus continues, "you have my respects for doing what you did to ensure our victory here, Demon, and so well played." To which within these very moments now, with everyone being shown having to take their leave as Kibi went on to oversee them having to now return back home and having to now comment on this, was when Kibi went on to then respond, "Thank you, all of you, for we wouldn't have been able to go and create the change that most of us had wanted to see if it were not for your help, Goku. And by having balance be restored, and with that monster Raijin now finally gone and gone for good," Kibi continues, "I can confidently now say that we are all able to live in peace, and it's all thanks to you, Universe 7. And while I may not know on what the future holds, nor can I predict on what is about to go and happen next," Kibi adds, "I can only go as far as to assure you all that the Demon Realm will be kept safe and secured under my watchful command, and while I hope that this isn't going to be some kind of a goodbye forever scenario here between us, I can only hope that you and your friends may go and come back to visit us soon, as you are all welcome to come by and say hello at any time you wish, and since there is much for us to go and do and rebuild after having Raijin nearly go and destroy everything within the process, thank you all for everything that you have done to help change things for the better here, as I one day look forward in having to see all of you again very soon," to which it was only right then and there now, during that moment, was when the final chapter in the Beyond Dragon Ball Super Story of the Dark Masters manga chapter number 57 special then comes to a close.
Well, actually,
All right, y'all, that was a good story, man. Look, I fell asleep. Look, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. Don't ask me why I'm watching I'm reacting at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just up. I didn't know, so I'm sorry. So, but it's 5 in the morning, and I'm watching this. Yeah, and well, we're here, man. And I'm like, yeah. And so shout out to UnrealEntGaming, but it's a pretty good story. Now we're over with it. Finale. like I said, my rating of this story is not one of my favorites. It's not one of my favorites. It's probably the out of all the stories, yep. It's out of UnrealEntGaming stories, it's probably like my least favorite. It's probably at the bottom. I ain't gonna lie. And I know it, not that it's not good or nothing. It's just compared to the others, you know. But nonetheless, it's some interesting things in there. So, but anyway, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all I know we're gonna check out the next story sometime this week, and you know, check out the last chapter right here. Check out another even right here, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.